Hey, welcome to another edition of Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Robert Winters,
Judy Nathans.
and today is August 14th,
Oh
2018.
gosh, it's just going so quickly.
Zipping by here.
It is, yeah.
I've turned in my Harvard summer school. I have not turned in my Harvard summer school grades.
Oh, so you're
So
all
if you're one of my
okay.
students, don't
Yeah,
call
you
me.
could
I don't
still
wanna hear
buy
about
them a beer. No.
No.
Oh,
no.
right, they're underage, aren't they?
They're not all of them.
Oh,
no,
all right.
no.
But you can't do it. You can't bribe him.
That's right. Can't
Right,
do that.
okay.
Right. And then back to the MIT job in I don't know, maybe a couple weeks. So
Oh boy, busy
it's
guy.
happening. Yeah. So anyway, life goes on.
Yep.
So let's see, a few things maybe to mention this week that relate to things we talked about a bit last week.
Right, and then we talked about, if you didn't watch or listen, the EMF building.
Right, so the electromotor force building, or EMF building.
You want to show it to remind people what it is?
Yeah, we could do that here. Actually, I'm going to try the new fancy way.
Oh, okay.
How about that?
There we go. Oh, that was quick. Look at that.
Yeah, well,
I did that.
actually, if you click on them, they
I know,
actually go
that's
to the
great.
individual
Yeah,
pictures.
there it goes.
So anyway, so the Cambridge Historical Commission had a meeting this past Thursday, and on their agenda, I think top of the agenda, was a petition for landmarking of this building, which has been sort of the subject of some controversy
Right.
because the building was purchased a couple of years ago. There have been some artists and musicians, primarily musicians, I think, in the building.
For many
and,
years. Yeah.
About 10 to 12
Yeah.
years, I think.
At least.
And
yeah.
so they're out now, and I think by most accounts, including theirs, probably will never be back in that building.
No.
But they did then, sort of as a parting shot, file a petition for the landmarking of the building, right?
So, you want to just go back to us?
Yeah, we'll go back with this. Yeah.
Ooh, you see that wipe? That was nice.
Yeah. See, I
You
think
learned that?
I'm learning technology.
Oh wow, I
See?
like that.
Isn't
Okay.
that something?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So,
for a guy that doesn't have a cell phone.
Yeah. What can I say? I'm a Luddite.
No, you're not. You have an iPad.
That's true.
Anyway, go ahead.
Wait, you weren't supposed to tell people that. No. You were.
Facebook page and Twitter.
Oh
and
no!
all that stuff.
Oh no!
Yeah. Okay, so
what was I saying? Oh yes. So
Yeah.
so anyway, the as a kind of a parting shot, they filed this petition, and I don't know where the odds were on what was going to happen at the historical commission, but the current building owner, John DiGiovanni, was there, and various of these musicians who sort of hate his guts were there, and the historical commission voted to initiate what they call a landmark study. It doesn't mean anything's been landmarked, and in fact, the only
so wait, that was a decision that was made?
that was the decision that was made.
Oh wait, they already did that. We talked about that last week.
No, because it didn't happen until Thursday.
But wait a minute, where did I see all those historical references then to the building?
Okay, so see, that's what's curious.
Yeah,
We actually showed
okay.
last week
Yeah.
some pieces of.
I thought we showed the
It was
report.
it was a communication that was to the commission.
Yeah.
Right, so there's the staff of the historical commission, and then there's the board, the historical commission, which is an appointed board.
Right.
So there was this information given to the commissioners to help them in their decision making, right? Whether to initiate the landmark study. So
Oh, so that was not
that was not the
written by
full
the,
landmark.
by the
It was definitely done
Oh.
by the same people who will be doing the landmark study.
Oh, okay.
So it went to them, and they, a little bit surprisingly to many, and there were some sort of heavy hitters sort of showed
Yeah.
up arguing about the need for this landmarking,
Hmm.
and they actually voted to initiate the study. Now, of course, the only only body who can actually landmark it is the city council.
Oh,
So the thing is, so now the historical commission will do a full-blown study, a little bit more than the whatever.
so they're going to spend more time on landmarking, even though.
You know,
Okay.
it's funny.
I'm
There's
really
all these
confused.
rumors. It's like amateurs galore here. Basically saying, well, now this will delay any disposition of the building until for another year. You go, well, that's not true.
It just means it's just going to stay empty for a while.
For a bit longer,
Right.
certainly. The historical commission will probably take what they already began when they were doing the study.
I
for
hope
the-
they're not
for
going
the
to spend a whole
commission.
lot of time on this because it's already there. It seemed clear that
Yeah.
it had gone through so many changes that it really wasn't
You know,
historical anymore.
I would be kind of shocked if they
Yeah.
came back with a recommendation
That
that
it should be
said to landmark
landmarked.
it.
Yeah.
But then again, if it then goes to the city council and they have to make a decision, they may act politically. It's been known to happen.
Please, no.
Well, I really want to see some sort of facility made available, maybe right in the heart of Central Square for musicians, like
I would love to
studios,
see that, but it's not
with,
gonna be
you know,
this building.
inexpensive
Yeah.
access to recordings of studios, practice space.
Besides which, if it
Yeah.
was landmarked, don't you then are constrained by what you can do to it to make it,
The only see that's the stupidity,
Yeah.
and I have to
Yeah.
use that word of it.
yeah,
If you landmark it, the only thing you can really
Is the out-
preserve is the exterior of the building, which is actually crap.
is awful.
It's crap,
right.
and
Yeah,
and as far as what goes on inside there, I guess that could constrain if you want to put in luxury condos, but you have to retain brick walls or something.
Well, yeah, but it's
without
the
windows.
outside, they'd have to keep that addition, they'd have to keep the boarding up of the
Yeah.
windows, it's just
So-
not landmarkable.
It isn't really
I
landmarkable.
sure hope they don't spend time, there's so
My-
many things to spend
My
time
only,
on.
listen,
Yeah.
I really sincerely want to see some sort of accommodation
Yeah.
for people.
Musicians and,
And we're not talking about necessarily those particular musicians,
no, but a space,
for aspiring young
affordable
musicians.
working space, which
Yes,
is a little
working
different. This
space,
was not living
recording
space,
space.
people should
Right.
make that distinction.
Yeah,
too,
so I
'cause
wanna-
that gets into other things.
You know, I really want to
Yeah.
see that, and I think there are ways of making that happen. And I hope it's a really serious part of the discussion with the soon-to-be appointed mayor's arts and music arts.
Yeah, I would
task
like to
force.
see all that retail that they're talking about on the bottom of all these new buildings devoted to that use, because
Yeah,
we have so many empty retail now anyway. Why not take something,
you know, maybe that says retail dies on the vine. Maybe
Yeah.
some of those ground floor
like working spaces where you have a membership, like Arts Asylum, which is
like
different. That's a
it's
whole
like,
warehouse.
It's like
but,
workspace. So you have
workspace.
like
Like
you know,
work bar for
WeWork,
musicians.
Work bar, right?
but then
So-
there'd be noise factors.
Well,
Who knows? you
that's
know?
right. So, but you know,
But
insulation
there are
works.
other solutions. Let's put it that way.
Right.
They
So
need to look at that.
That's really
Yeah.
what the solution should be, not
Right.
landmarking this silly
No.
building, right?
Please don't spend lots
I'm
of time.
my
on it. Yeah.
biggest concern, not to obsess on this, is that so if you don't like an individual property owner, and clearly these folks were
No.
going up and protesting in Harvard Square because they don't like John DiGiovanni, right?
Trinity Properties.
Trinity
is that
Properties, right? So the thing is now the Cambridge Historical Commission has been drawn into what is
Yep.
it arguably. Now I'm sure some people will disagree with me
Yeah.
here, but arguably kind of an act of vengeance against the big bad capitalist who took your space away.
Yeah, I think the sign should be landmarked, and that could be put
Actually, the
somewhere.
historical commission said they
Yeah.
would preferably love
Like
to
to
see
move
that
it.
preserved. And
Yeah, or maybe not on that building, but well, I guess you could. It could be the
Yeah, you
EMF
could.
building, but
Yeah.
or put it on this new space we're hopefully getting.
yeah, right. But anyway, the upshot is
Yeah.
that historical commission actually did initiate the landmark study. Some people think
So
it's going
that
to take a year, but
happened
it's
last
not,
week.
on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Now, whether it's going to take a long time or a short time, I don't know. Honestly, I don't think there's that much to research.
Because they did such a thorough job.
They already did all the basic, it's been occupied since its
Yes.
inception, more or less by the same entity until 12 years ago.
Right.
So there's not that much to look up, really.
Yep.
I don't want to break anybody's heart here,
Yeah.
but in fact, you could probably do that landmark study in a weekend
Yeah.
and be done with it, and and then.
Well, they're not going to do that because then people accuse them of not
Well,
putting in their due
all right. So what they're going to do is
diligence.
they're going to try and they will, and I guess this is the one fair case. Is they'll get some of the people who were involved in the last 12 years
Yes.
to sort of write up a history of what happened over the last 12 years, and then have that integrated. Now they may stall on doing that. Not because this historical commission can't do that research. They would be dependent on the former
Well, but they could
tenants.
give them a deadline.
They should give them a deadline.
Everyone
It's-
should have deadlines anyway.
Yeah, and then hopefully by the end of the year, maybe this whole matter can be resolved. But
I hope
and
so.
simultaneously, let's get on the stick here. We're talking about a Central Square Arts Overlay District. We've got a mayor's, kind of blue ribbon-esque
Arts
task
overlay,
force.
which is still open for applications?
Open for applications.
Okay.
So
Who would they contact? Just go to the website?
Just contact the mayor's office.
Yeah, mayor's office, okay.
And then that's really how the right solution will get
Yes.
resolved. So,
Okay.
So anyway, that's that.
So that's that.
That's that. Now, another item we talked about last week, which
St.
got
James.
resolved,
Yeah.
was St. James Place, which is
To remind people of what
right.
that
So
is.
there's the church. There's a church at the corner of
Beach and Mass Ave.
Beach and Mass Ave and Porter Square.
Next to the Crapit or whatever car wash.
There was a car wash that kind of
been
wrapped
gone
along the
for a
side
long
facing
time.
into Mass
Yeah.
Ave, and then there was a parish hall or something behind it.
Well, a pretty big
that's been
church property,
basically-
yeah.
Yeah, but it's basically been padlocked because it's been deteriorated for
So
a
I
while.
didn't know that part,
The
okay.
church has been partly
It occupies
restored.
that whole corner, yeah.
Anyway, it's a very activist church congregation. They would love to have a parish
programs,
hall back. And so they cut the deal with Oak Tree Development to sort of do a residential development around it. So then it got caught up, and it got its special permits, and it was caught up in litigation, and basically
For how many years?
almost 10 years,
Crazy.
which is ridiculous. If you want to find a nice textbook example of civics gone wrong.
Can I ask something though, because I did not know about this. Why did does the city have any responsibility in this for letting something go for 10 years? I mean, when,
You know,
when does the city intervene on this kind of stuff? Or don't they have any right
You
to
know, the thing is, they
Because it was two
can.
private properties?
Well, the
is that-
problem is that so the cities, like the planning board, grants things
Yeah.
like special permits.
Right.
Board, I don't remember if the Board of Zoning Appeals, what role they may have had in this, but the thing is that these bodies are all enabled under Chapter 40, I think,
Okay.
under Massachusetts state law.
Yeah.
And there are appeals processes that are put
And
in
it
place
never
for good
appears
reason.
before the city council? When
No.
it's on that level?
No, because the city basically passes ordinances, they set up the zoning. Once the zoning is in place, then it's up to
So these people were
administrative
not
bodies.
they were not submitting a zoning petition, they were raising other issues, or they were suing
They
for
were
other
raising
issues?
other issues, they disputed the validity of the traffic study that
Okay.
the city had
Right.
done, or I think the developer had commissioned, but the city
The gist
accepted
of it,
the
they didn't
results.
want cars going in and out on Beach Street, is
Yeah,
that
the
really
city
what it is?
preferred that the
Yeah.
cars go in and out on Beach Street rather than on Mass
On
Ave.
Mass Ave.
So, you know, there is due process and rights to appeal, whatever.
10 years?
If I'm gonna, I mean, I'll maybe point the hairy finger a little bit at some people in the city, but the thing is, I'll point the hairiest finger at some of the litigants.
Yeah, well, we don't have to name names, but.
Right, but
just
who
go on
really
to-
did
yeah.
not act in good faith here. And I'm not, you know, I gotta say that, you know, the appeals process, you know, when somebody's trying to do a project and, you know, the money's on the line, and in fact, your ability to do it economically is going to be affected by appeals processes, there is a place for the courts to make some summary judgments and say, you may proceed on the following potentially valid things, but for the rest, sorry, no, that's settled.
Yeah.
So that you can at least allow a project to start
But it sounds
moving
like
forward.
on the other side, I'm not blaming just one side. I mean, Oak Tree, maybe they got involved in other projects and just let this go and didn't want to fight it right away. I don't know. It just
Maybe
seems
so,
like,
but the thing is that, you
too
know,
long
at the,
apart, yeah.
so I went to the
You went to
planning
the
board meeting
you
this
did.
past, a week ago,
Oh, good.
Tuesday after the show.
and
And almost everybody in the room were actually the congregation from St. James Church.
wow.
They packed the hall, and
Wonderful.
I don't think they're supposed to be carrying signs, but they were little kids carrying signs, you know,
Oh,
saying,
save the church.
you know, give us our
Our
permits,
daycare
right?
center or whatever.
Right. Well, no, that was the thing. Is
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that
there's
they,
a lot of, they do a lot
there
of,
was, there was testimony from at least one parent who had to take
social
her children
agencies.
to
Yeah,
some place blocks and blocks away because she wanted to do it at the church, but
Yeah.
she couldn't do it.
yeah.
You know, so there were consequences to this
So
delay.
who spoke against it? Anybody?
Michael
The
Brandon,
usuals? Okay.
the usual, yeah. And it turns out it was. I didn't quite understand what the planning board had to do because they granted their special permits a long time
Didn't
ago.
they have to extend the time of
Well,
it?
apparently that
Oh.
wasn't it. What it was that there was this question about whether the failure to begin the project
On a certain
was
date?
done within, you know, it went past a certain deadline.
Right.
And the question is that was there, quote, good cause for that? Okay. And of course, there was good cause. Namely,
Yes.
the fact is when you've got
Right.
litigation and you
Right.
have no control over, then
You
it's certainly
can't
not
do
your
anything.
fault. No
I see. So
reasonable
that's okay.
person could ever say it was. So it turns out they actually didn't need the approval of the planning board.
Huh.
All they needed was the okay from Ranjit
The
from
inspectional
inspectional services, and because they had all their permits in place. But
Right.
he's a generally, as Hugh Russell in the planning board said, he tends to be a bit cautious.
Right. So he wants.
He
he's
does his
all
homework. He's a very
his
very
eyes dotted. What's the expression? Yeah, everything
so
by the book.
Ranjit
Okay.
he's very diligent and
Yeah.
he's really good. And so he wanted to make absolutely sure there wasn't going to be any problems. So he says, I'm ready to sign on the dotted line and give you the building permit to proceed. says, but I would feel happier if, in fact, the planning board could basically just make a judgment to say, we really do feel this is for good cause.
Good.
So there was nothing actionable. In fact, there was one member of the planning board, Nick Bowie, who was sort of from because he's a lawyer. Yeah. He was raising to say, well, why is this even before us, and why should I feel uncomfortable voting for something where we're not actually the deciding party here at this point.
Interesting.
And then it was the whole debate really centered around whether this is sort of more of a courtesy to people in inspectional services to basically give the blessing of the planning board.
Right.
So when they did it, all the people in the congregation were thrilled.
And there's a lot of clapping going on. Or did they?
I don't remember if it was. I think it was, but they were happy, and I think they were taking group photos outside. So anyway, so St. James is going to proceed now.
So in this case, the little people won, even though it looked like it was the big people.
Right, that's right. I mean,
That's funny.
It's like David pretending to be Goliath, Goliath pretending to be David here, right?
Just, oh boy.
So anyway,
good resolution.
Good resolution. I'm sort of glad things are moving along there.
Yes, so that was St. James.
That was St. James. Another thing we talked about, and this is not anything particularly actionable, but we certainly last couple of weeks mentioned about this zoning petition, this Brown Nakagawa petition, that the city council nixed at the midsummer meeting.
The July 30th meeting. Right.
But what's actually noteworthy in addition to that was this sort of fallout that's been happening since then.
In what way? Because I haven't followed that.
You sort of have to follow the neighborhood listservs to really see it.
Okay, which ones? I don't think I'm on that. I'm not on the Fresh Pine Alliance. I'm not not on the Cambridgeport. Well, no, I am on the Cambridgeport listserv, but sometimes.
All right, so
it's the Fresh Pine Alliance.
Now, the Fresh Pond Residents Alliance has a listserv. Right. All right, and I happen to be on that listserv.
Well, you're on all of them, which is good.
Not all of them, but I'm on a lot of them.
You're on Cambridgeport.
Right. Yeah. And prior to her election, Jan Devereaux was the moderator.
Right.
And after the election, I don't know, she says she's not the moderator, and I believe her. Who is the moderator? Somebody is the moderator, and I asked, and they said, well, that's not important, we won't want, and they refused to divulge who the moderator is.
Well, maybe that's within their right, I don't know.
Well, I think I know who the moderator is.
Well, we don't need to know that.
But there's a funny thing is so this isn't so much about moderation, but it's a matter of the people in the chatter that goes on.
So what's the
well, now sort of like it's payback time. Now, don't you know there were 5 councilors who voted to, deep six
so we're gonna deep
what
six
they were calling the climate safety petition, even though in fact 90% of everything that's in it is going to be continuing to be discussed and possibly implemented just in different ways.
Right.
Okay. But it's sort of like, the naming of names, it's quite interesting what
some they expected.
Right. I mean,
and one they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, for example, the duplicity of the mayor was one of the comments.
Please.
Right. And it was worse than that. And then it was like, and then I will mention it because it's sort of immaterial to the discussion in a way, but Elon Levy, who was a city council candidate now several times, he wants to throw out the form of government, so now he's indicting the entire form of government. See, it's the form of government, it's the evil plan E is that responsible for this, and if we had a directly elected mayor, then blah, blah, blah,
as if that wouldn't happen on a direct, doesn't
to his credit, Quentin Zondervan, who probably has more reason among elected officials to be upset, basically says, come on, Elon, lighten up, will you?
Yeah.
If you want to have a revolution, okay, we can talk.
No,
but
Quentin is a reasonable person. I don't always agree with his, but he at least approaches things reasonably. He's not,
ultimately, I think,
I
think he tries to seek consensus.
Exactly.
Right. Yes. Bit of a zealot in his beliefs, certainly.
Right, but he does it quietly and.
But it's like Sumbul Siddiqui, who I think explained herself perfectly well.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure she's on their list, but you know what? She could care less probably because she was the top vote getter. So
second most.
Second? Oh right, Simmons was.
Yeah, that's right.
Who voted against?
Right, but the thing is it's almost like you sort of, if you read between the lines, it's sort of saying, and now it's time for reprisals. people, they don't care about the people, don't you know this was all about climate safety? And I'm not so convinced at all.
But again, to emphasize, this was not a vote. It would have died anyway, and everyone acknowledged that. It's just that they wanted to extend it so there could be more discussion.
Right.
But that would have interfered with the.
I think it was the housing authorities.
Right.
They're the ones.
They wanted to get it settled.
They basically said that you can say one thing, but the thing is we are
bankers and money people
right.
look at
we
what's
are
the risk.
convinced that if this lives on for another day.
And Sumbul, who's a lawyer and deals with housing, and she said the same thing. They're not going to go into this kind of uncertain situation.
I mean, honestly, I have to say, all 9 city councilors, to whatever degree anyone made any statements about why they were voting for or against, made sense. They all expressed themselves well.
Well, they're smart people. That's why they're there.
They came up with a decision, and the decision was made. So the notion that everybody's going to sort of start pointing fingers after the fact, when in fact the decision was, even if you disagree, it was reasonable.
So was there any action proposed in these back and forth comments?
There's really not much. I think now some people are pretty much saying, and I think really they have to, that now you pursue other channels. You sort of talk with the Envision Cambridge folks. You continue to have discussions with the city. Maybe there'll be other petitions that will follow.
And there's some have they initiated that task force?
Not yet, but there was a Timmy order that basically said, let's take all the good stuff that potentially could be found
and get people representing all sides,
and let's have a nice, better discussion about this. So, I think it's not a bad outcome, but anyway, I thought it was noteworthy about that. I'm going to say a few other quick things about the zoning petitions, because that one failed, right? So, but there were now 4 other zoning petitions.
Yeah, because there's an ordinance committee coming up.
Yeah, I think there's
one of them about flat roofs.
Let's see, was the flat roofs was actually today?
Tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, the 16th.
No.
No, there's something on the 16th.
Anyway, there's one on the 16th.
Yes.
Right. But the one on the 16th has to do with the Pizzuto petition. It's
you're right.
It was New Street.
New Street wanting to do storage facilities or something. So okay, you're right.
Just technical stuff. If you live not near
so
New
when
Street,
is
maybe you get worked up about
is that one tomorrow then?
So I think it was actually.
The surveillance was yesterday at 5:30.
I've got my calendar here.
3 o'clock today was bicycle stuff.
That's right.
Wednesday, I think it's next week, no?
Whenever it was.
I wrote it down.
It was actually yesterday was surveillance ordinance.
Yeah.
Anyway, whenever it is, so there's one thing about flat roofs. Okay, so it was
water or something.
And they're redesigning roofs of buildings and allowing maybe buildings to have a little extra height in order to pitch the roof so you can drain water off. And it's all being cast in terms of a sort of a good climate resiliency type of thing.
Do they want to save the water? What's the point?
Some people are saying doing that.
Or is it just to avoid leaks? I don't understand.
There's also the cannabis, and there's also one having to do with accessory apartments. But I just want to say something on the flat roofs because I have a flat roof.
Right, and I was just thinking about this. Something happened in your flat roof, right?
Yeah, so now I'm thinking hey, wait, I got to start looking at this, right? So we had my roof drain clogged on Sunday morning, and I noticed this because the water was raining down into my second floor apartment, so it rained through the 3rd floor.
Could have caused a fire.
I don't know about causing a fire, but the thing is, it was close to the electrical panel. So, but the thing is that there is some jeopardy that you're in when you have a flat roof triple decker, and putting in a different system to allow rainwater to get off of there, other than just going down the central pipe. Might not be a bad thing.
But is that required? Does that mean that everyone would be required to do that?
No requirement at all. It's just would give you options.
Okay, well that's what I like, options, rather than the other petition. It was like required. It's like half the.
That's right. Well, the climate.
Half the houses would.
Among other objections, in this so-called climate safety petition, it was very prescriptive, proscriptive, prescriptive. Restrictive, it was restrictive.
It was very.
It says you will do this, you will do that. They did exempt 2 and 3 family houses, though. By the way, I give them that much. But the thing is that they pretty much said this is the way everything must be, and that's that, and that's that, and it would have been pretty hard on a lot of people, I think. But anyway, I'm actually kind of warming up to this one about giving some options for the roofs. I'm thinking about putting in what they call canales out there.
But why wouldn't you have been able to do that on your own anyway? Why do you need a change
if you
in
need
some...
if you need to increase the height of a building,
Oh,
let's say,
then
in order
then
to
involves a
accommodate
permit
it,
or something?
well, you might need a variance. So the
Oh,
thing
I
is
see.
that if you
This
want
would eliminate that?
yeah, I mean,
I see.
you know, of course, there's what they call the weekender. The weekender
That
is
does
where you
stuff
get
anyway.
somebody, you go
Yeah.
up there on the weekend, you just do it, and you know what
Which
they
I'm
say.
sure a lot of people have done stuff
No
to
whistle,
their
no
house.
foul, right?
Yeah.
You know, no, right? I can look out my kitchen window and I can see structures that were put onto rooftops over a weekend.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You
I see
know,
what
it
you're saying.
happens.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's sort of a good idea.
Yeah.
So
So
again,
that's
don't want
coming
to
up.
obsess on
Go
zoning.
to the hearing schedule on the city website or go to Robert's
Oh, yeah,
website.
yeah,
You can see
yeah.
all the.
Yeah,
there's something on the
the,
23rd.
Yeah, the city council's
22nd, I don't
dance
know.
card is starting to fill up a little bit,
Yes.
but honestly, not that much. You know, they don't really have that much. I think they have 4
Well,
things
see,
scheduled
consider
for the
there's no
future.
official meeting till the 17th because of Labor Day
Yeah.
and Rosh Hashanah. Although I have to say, Rosh Hashanah is over at sunset. They could have had the meeting that
Yeah,
day.
well, they did public safety today.
Yes.
They're
Well, that
going to
was
do
a
the
cer-
ordinance
oh, public
committee
safety
on
was
New
the-
Street petition on
Oh, you have it right
Thursday.
there.
And don't forget the old time baseball game. at
Yeah, I
7. We'll
know.
talk more about that next half hour then.
Right.
And let's see, we also have September 12th, which is still a ways away.
There's 2
There's
meetings.
back to back.
Yes, I
Transportation
have
and
that.
Public Utilities is going to talk about electric scooters.
And that's going to be televised. That
That's
one.
gonna
She
be
got that
televised,
It's
you
so
betcha.
helpful when it's televised because then you can catch it like
Yeah,
that.
and then that's at 1 o'clock, and then at 4 o'clock, stick around. It's a double header.
Retail strategy report, which is not televised.
That's right, with economic development.
But that report is
Oh, yeah,
out
and-
somewhere. You can find it.
And there's one
Yeah.
more, a new
Oh.
one showed up. It was
Oh.
Transportation and Public Utilities on September 20th.
Oh,
And this is on the topic
That's a
of.
Thursday.
It's funny on the hearing schedule. It's contradictory. It says calling for reducing the speed limit to 20 miles per
right.
hour citywide, and the creation of 20-mile-per-hour safety
yeah.
zones
So what do
on
they
certain
mean?
streets.
That's confusing.
Total contradiction, right?
All right.
You're either going to do 20 miles per hour citywide.
You know, 20 is fast enough. I have been watching that stuff, and you don't need to go 25. You really don't. Not in the city. Sorry.
Except that if in fact you know for a fact everybody's going to go 25 and change,
Well, that's the problem.
then it
People
just
go
breeds
65 in a
disrespect for the law.
55-mile zone. So,
So.
yeah. All right. See you next Sunday.
Anyway, we'll be back in a few minutes on
Okay.
Cambridge Inside Out.